Hi everyone, Mature Simmer here. So, going ahead as expected and getting the slurry moved. We don't have like a ton, don't even have a full truck worth, but we've got a good amount and I can get it done. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then the other thing I've decided to do, because it's going to just help me avoid having to spray for weeds, and because I've got to do part of the field anyway, and just doing that section will be a little strange, is I am going to go ahead and just plow the south end of the field. And I don't have to wait to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done right after I get this slurry taken care of. Whoops. So again, I thought I was in reverse, and obviously I was not. There we go. We'll just fill from the back this time. We had about 44,000. We've still got about 29,000 of feed left, which is not surprising because we're not even at 24 hours. So, but we've used 4,000 or so of feed. So, pace is pretty good. And I'm starting to forget what exactly I show you guys or whatever, but I did run the other 12 pigs that were fully grown over to the animal dealer. So, if I showed you that, sorry for being repetitive. If I didn't, that now means I've got 36 pigs out. And we'll see from a reproduction cycle what that all comes out to later. And if we get any Berkshires in this batch, or if we end up not having that available to us, and we just end up becoming a one pig type group. So this time I'm going the right way, where the other time I was delivering pigs and I went this way, which is not where the animal dealer is. At best it's in this direction, but on a roadway across these fields. So unless I was to just cut across the field, I can't get there on the road network. But again, it's December, first day of winter, and obviously 7 a.m. and it's still pretty dark. So kind of to be expected in the winter time. So it's all good stuff. Not quite sure. It is not going along. I did connect my hoses, so I do need to be careful though, because the road will be coming up before I know it. Oh, I can't steer. It's very squishy responsive today. I don't know why. So I think this is the road here, where I was so excited that I didn't forget it yesterday, but I didn't forget it today, so maybe it's starting to get into my head. So probably, at best we can probably hope for over 1,000, because we're not at the high level. And again, I'm sure Slurry, like everything, fluctuates a bit. Oops, wrong button. I hit R, I don't know why. So I probably could have been emptying as I slowed down. But yeah, 50,000 was like 1,500 last time we delivered it, so 44,000. We'll probably lose a few hundred. Oh wow, look at that. Slurry must be in demand. 1,621. I will take it. Any little bit helps. So yeah, last time I talked about, maybe doing sunflowers. because I'm kind of starting to get to the point, and again, this can all change later with precision farming, although it honestly I guess won't, because even though I have see and spray technology on my sprayer, for example, and that may use a lot less herbicide, I'm still going to have to drive the field, so that won't necessarily be any different. You know, but the difference certainly is the sprayer is a bigger implement, but you know, again, it's not as if I'm going to do or likely to do things I need to plow after all the time. But I think soybeans, I guess I can do canola. I'm trying to think there. I think there were 3 things that worked for protein. So soybeans were one. I think it was sunflowers and canola. So obviously I know canola would be non-plowing. So now I'm in my head like, well, do I just do canola so I don't have to plow again? But sunflowers are just so pretty. I don't know. You know, as you might expect, I mean, they're certainly one of the more colorful, more interesting crops. You know, the thing is, though, it's not like when I'm harvesting they look that way. They basically are, I think, shriveled up and withered. Or not withered. Obviously, if they were withered, we couldn't harvest them. But, you know, they're at that point where they've gone past the pretty yellow flower stage and when they're ready to be harvested. So when you're going through the field, it's not as if you're really seeing it. It's just at some point, you know, for a day or two on your farm, or a month or two, as it works in the actual game calendar of how this works, you know, you've got some pretty cool looking fields. That didn't work well. So, yeah, the only other thing I did, I'm probably going to keep this short because you know, plowing's going to take a while. You guys have seen it. And let me park this truck and get to the plowing, so at least you get a little bit of plowing. But my intent is, you know, just to keep it brief, get you updated, and then we'll worry about things when I've got something to say, because right now, clearly I don't have a ton, and I just feel like I don't want to waste your time. So, alright, I'm going to repair this truck, because clearly you can see it's in pretty bad shape. $4,000, that's actually not bad. Clean it up while we're over here on the pad, because it's definitely a little worse for wear. You can see very, very quickly on the chrome up front, as an example, things are cleaning up. So when it gets that dirty, as soon as we start to spray it, it gets better looking fast. To get to that final piece of shine, we usually do have to go a little bit longer. In this light, it's hard to tell, but it's certainly better than it was. Way better than it was, so that's a good thing. It's amazing how such a big tractor can hide so well. I literally ran through here and was like, it's not on the other side, where is it? And then I started assuming I'd have to run around the yard, and then I see it sitting there in front of my seeder. But that seed hawk is big, so we'll slough it off to that. But at this point, you know, need to get the plow. Again, I love the quad track maneuverability. The only difference is when I get out, it'll kind of straighten out, so I do need to be straight, or it'll just snap back, and that won't work. Alright. So, got our plow, and we're on our way. So, the other piece I was going to chat about was I did look at the Suez project, because, I don't know, guilty's the wrong word, because it's not like I'm responsible for the, doing stuff for the Suez project. It's just something I can do. But just took a look to just see how that all was playing out. And, at this point, it's getting there. That we're still in that first phase of kind of getting things staged on the ground. Certainly some things are completed. A lot of the food, most of it I think is over 50%. But I guess as could be expected, because even when I saw it, while again, that's where maybe feeling guilty. Like, I certainly could help, but it is so hard with potatoes. It just feels like a daunting task. I mean, I did all that work, and at this point, I think we're at less than 20% of chips in what they need for the project, where like bread is coming up to, it's over 80% complete. So and all the current messages are bread or milk being delivered. So there's definitely a lot of the other food is nearly done, and I think what we're going to end up with at some point is needing a ton of chips. And it's just going to be a question of, do all of us finally, like, we all say, all right, every farmer's going to grow potatoes for this year at some level. I don't know that I could do a whole thing of potatoes. It's too much. I mean, I'd be miserable. It would definitely feel like a chore. And that's not the intent of playing a game, a farming simulator game. So I get it and all, but I think maybe the suggestion I'd have on structuring those projects is, clearly we've seen potatoes just aren't going to happen at the level that the other things are. So we probably need less of it. And I get the reality, they're trying to make it realistic and say, hey, if you've got X amount of all these other things, certainly, potatoes are going to be crucial. I think there's a couple things working against everything. The time-intensive nature of working potatoes. Everything's tiny compared to other crops with potatoes. I mean, the planters are small, the harvester width is small. The only thing that's not tiny is the amount of potatoes you get. Obviously everything in between, if I've got to fertilize, if I have to spray for weeds, like, I can use my general sprayer, so there's nothing small, there's no special potato thing. But then that's, I think, the main issue is the specialized nature of the equipment. Like, I think unless a farmer is planning on growing things, you're not going to get a lot of what you have seen with me, which is, I bought it, it's sitting there, I've used it literally twice in the life of my farm, and and I'm okay with that, having basically $500,000 of equipment just kind of sitting around. I just don't think that's what most people will want to do. We shall go and begin the plowing. And so part of it, and again, maybe I'll determine as I do this, because this is certainly easier than, say the rolling or the other things where I've got a super wide implement and I've got to get giant headlands and so forth. Like, I ran 2 passes on the north end to get myself clear of the trees. It's not a super, super wide implement. And at this point, it's just literally letting the GPS do its thing and running up and down the field. As opposed to working the field the last time, which again is something I think I will try to avoid, is multiple crops on the field. It takes more time. There's just no way around it. It breaks that time up in some cases, like for harvesting and even planting, because the windows weren't all open in one day. So I think it gives you a false sense of it being manageable, and it certainly is manageable. I mean, I didn't die. Again, if I'm comparing the potato harvest that I'm just talking about, the misery of that potato harvest is still etched in my mind. X number of crop cycles later. And I guess it's just really one. I think we just did the sorghum field we just did in between, so it's not even a full game year yet since we've, or it just is maybe, I guess, since we've kind of gotten everything completed. But even though the field split across 3 crops was more recent than this area being the full potato harvest, because that was what was previously on this field. I don't think we did anything in between on the south end. I just don't remember it with as negative a view as I do the potato harvest. And like I said, it's not that I don't, in concept, enjoy the work of potatoes. Probably the work of anything. I mean, any of the stuff in the game is manageable. It's just, with the old phrase, everything in moderation, it's just, I guess, my level of tolerance and moderation for certain tasks is not equal to what I'm willing to do on others. Like, again, to me, plowing is plowing. I'm kind of neutral on it. It's work I need to do. It's things that need to happen. I don't need to be doing it here on what is the sorghum field down at the bottom here. But clearly, again, I've got weeds already sprouting. And this will just help the situation. Now, the challenge, or the piece I'm going to have is, so the issue I'm going to have here is this. I'm going to start throwing stones up from the plowing. And that is something to think about. But I suppose you just roll the field. And, kind of like with the sorghum where I didn't roll it after I planted. You can go ahead and do that and get those rocks down before you go work the field. Because it is interesting. I have needs rolling on, and you can see as I've plowed this, it doesn't tell me I need to roll. The rolling requirement of the game really comes at the point of once you've planted the crop, to kind of press the seed in, I guess, compact the soil around it a bit to make sure that you get the highest yield you can. But if I plow, I need to roll. I don't know. Yeah, I guess it comes back to, really, the root cause is some of the extra jobs that FS22 has given us, such as stones with then having to deal with them, is not at the top of my list. I get it's a reality in farming. Again, I've shared with you guys a couple times, I think. One of the YouTubers I follow on the farming side, well, really the only one, that I do with real farming is I do watch Millennial Farmer as his stuff comes out. I just enjoy his situation. I mean, I can relate to it. He's local. He's not, local meaning in the U.S., but yet I guess local even in the Midwest where, I'm kind of there. Not that Nebraska and Kansas and all those aren't in the Midwest, but there's just something about that Great Plains, super, super flat farming on monstrous Fields that I just haven't gotten drawn into. And maybe it's the personalities of the YouTubers that do it. So, I've looked at things like Welker Farms and Laura Farms, and, they're okay. They just haven't gotten me that interested. And, maybe it's because he's a little bit older, the Millennial Farmer, which I'm sure, he might find entertaining because I think his whole point is millennial and still younger, and, he makes fun of all the stereotypes of, oh, I got my hands dirty. Oh my God, a millennial with dirty hands. You never see that type of thing. And while some of that is true for folks, obviously he does what he needs to do. And similarly to where I've even commented on this channel, I'm just not the typical gaming YouTuber that is going to be out there screaming and, giving you screen cuts and jumps and, hey, and while I say that, the screen like zooms in and whatever. I know there's an audience for that. I also know there's probably 85% of the landscape of YouTube is there to service that audience. So, I'm trying to do something a little different, something that works for me, which is just some more serious simming and just focusing on the process of doing that and less on the gimmick of being entertainment. If the people who are going to really follow something like this, especially, this isn't a first-person shooter. This isn't something super exciting to watch. Pulling a plow up and down a field. The viewers that are going to be attracted to that and that are going to return and come back, the mentality, I think, of a lot of folks with Farming Simulator, just by the nature of the beast, is you're not looking for flash and excitement. Nothing's going to jump out of the woods and attack me and I'm suddenly going to be in danger of death and I have to shoot it in a millisecond or it flattens me to the ground. That's not this game. I've done those games in the past. I've certainly enjoyed them. There was a time. It's just Sims have been the one thing that have stuck with me. I mean, I've always done Sims, even when I was doing a lot of first-person shooters, sports games, this, that, and whatever. There was still some Sims involved, things like SimCity or... I never got into The Sims. My kids enjoyed that, but yes, having little people do things was just not something that was ever interesting. But I've always liked the... let me do a quote-unquote job that I don't get to do in real life, and I've found that enjoyable. I just haven't found let me live someone else's life on the screen enjoyable. So, but it's not like I suddenly moved from, I liked first-person shooters and MMORPGs and all that, and now I like Sims. Sims have always been in the mix. It's just now it's become the predominant form, and some of that is just because it's less, I don't know, I'm not even sure what I'm trying to get at there, because I was going to say it's not necessarily any less time intense. Obviously, I spend hours and hours on Farming Simulator, along with a good amount of time in the other Sims I'm in. I guess it just feels less in your face. It's just kind of like, yep, I'm feeling in the mood to do a little bit of something. Which sim am I going to fire up and poke around in? And so it seems a little more casual, I guess, is maybe what it is, as opposed to extremely active. Especially with Farming Simulator. Again, if I'm talking to you, obviously, I'm focused. I'm trying to do that, because otherwise you get giant pauses of 3-4 minutes while I'm focusing on whatever I'm doing, and you'd hear me for a few seconds, like at the end each time. Because what'll end up happening once I'm done here chatting with you, like as I finish this other field, many times I'll kind of multitask, I guess, even though that's a whole debate we can have. I definitely fall in the camp of, humans don't really multitask. We switch from one task to the other. We've called it multitasking because it describes what we think we're doing, but at the end of the day, you're focused on one thing, like it or not. Like if I've got a video playing in the background and I'm doing that, like I still have more attention on one or the other at any given microsecond, which is why if I'm watching a video, sometimes my combine will run through the crop because I didn't realize it was filling up, and vice versa. If I'm watching and paying attention to unloading and I don't pause the video, I suddenly realize I just missed what he said for the last 2 minutes. So, and now I have to rewind and do it. So, maybe I'm a defective human, who knows? But I contend that the people who claim that they can do that are just blowing smoke. And they're fooling themselves as much as they're trying to fool other people. Because I think if they really sat down and retrospectively thought about it, they'd realize their experience is the same. I think I'm certainly a good indicator, of averageness and, so forth. And, not like someone who can't do things that everybody else is able to do. I'm not a professional athlete, I'm not whatever, so certainly, yes, I can't do certain things at proficiency that others can, but I would then contest I do things at proficiency in my work and so forth that other people would look at and say, how do you do that? So, at the end of the day, it's just that's the focus, that's the training, and so forth. But, so I think that's, a little bit of what kind of makes this where I've settled in at this point, is it just doesn't require that intense focus. And it's not that I don't do things. Again, I think I've shared, one of the things I do that obviously isn't a sim and, doesn't make the channel, partially because it's not on the PC, and I also don't think you'd be able to post anything. Although I guess people have done it, where they've done like full combo things on Rock Band of, they've played a song through. But, I don't know. I would think it gets some kind of a flag or whatever, because you're still playing an actual song. And so when YouTube reviews it, I would imagine it's giving you a copyright note for that or something. Sorry, early morning stuff again. So, put you on mute so that you didn't have to listen to me clearing my throat. But anyway, but yeah, I'll do stuff like Rock Band, where obviously, again, you can't really passively do that. You're pretty actively doing it, but it's just a couple hours a week at most, versus something like this that is a little bit more casual. And, and more importantly, like, if I need to stop right now, I can stop. And the tractor will be here, whether I'm doing single player, whether I'm doing this on multiplayer. Like, it's not like anything vanishes. I mean, certainly there is the reality that we've talked about in FSN with real-time progress, where if I just ignore the servers for 6 days, like, I'll miss my growing window on whatever I was going to plant on this field. Aside from the fact that it won't be plowed and so forth, and it won't be ready because I need to at a minimum plow those potatoes that I have over here, or potato remnants, and that wouldn't have happened. So, there's that. I mean, if we're being totally logical and thorough, which I've certainly been accused of being, sometimes to the point of annoying the crap out of folks. But yes, there are active pieces that I can't just ignore. But it's just less. And I think I've kind of beat this subject for a long time, for 5-10 minutes here as we've gone up and down the field. So I think you get my point. If not, drop me a thing in the comments. I'll explain it more there, but I won't bore everyone else with kind of trying to come at it from a different angle to say the same thing on the video here. So, so yeah, that's kind of where I've ended up with this. And honestly, I can't even remember why the topic came up and why I went down this path. Like what was being discussed, but I don't know. I'm trying desperately to remember what made me say, hey, I sim versus I do this. But yeah, I think it may have simply been the fact that I'm not gonna hang around here for another 30 minutes as I do the plowing and just keep talking, as I just feel like I think I've given you guys a ton of stuff, because it's been pretty active the last 6 months. The pigs have definitely done what I expected them to do, which is fill in those gaps and give me things to do. So, we've got Slurry to run, we've got other things. Obviously, we just did the Slurry here, so so I'm definitely on the server more often doing something, where my initial thought this morning even was, well, I'll just pop in, I'll see how things are going. I knew the Slurry wasn't going to be a must-do, and I could have just left most of this, but niggling in the back of my mind was, okay, at some point I've got to plow the potato section, and then that's kind of what turned into, let's just do the whole thing. It'll spare us some weeds, and we'll be good. So with that, I think that's what I've got for you at this point. So I'm going to wrap things up. I'm going to get this field plowed, and I will see you next time.